Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis.
Nothing but Memphis, Showboats, right here on the Captain's Log. I am your host, Brandon, aka the Captain. Boy, oh boy, it's getting tough. It's getting tough out here to be the captain. It's getting tough out here to be a fan of the Memphis Showboats. But I missed last week after the thrashing by the Birmingham Stallions that we took. Man, I mean, what to do? Or sorry. I took a week off last week after the thrashing that the Battlehawks gave us. You know, these blowouts, they just start blending in together. It all looks like one big blur of just terrible football. So we're going to talk about the game that was and the game coming up. We'll talk about a little bit to see if there's a chance of the Memphis Showboats salvaging the season and doing something with maybe getting a playoff berth. Even if we do get a playoff berth, the opponent will most likely be the Birmingham Stallions. I believe they can actually clinch the playoffs this week, or if a couple things happen. Showboats are technically still in it. We're not mathematically eliminated. They can always find a fun little formula of how X, Y, and Z needs to happen so that you can get into the playoffs. Those scenarios usually never happen. So, we're not going to count on those. All we can do is win on our side. We can't control what anybody else is doing. We can only control what we are doing. So if the boats went out, we'd be, we sitting at 1-4. So we'd be 5-4, 6-4. We'd be 6-4. So, that would give us a chance, but we got a tough one coming up this week. We'll talk about it in a second here. So getting into it, the last game, another great game for our opponents and fans of our opponents. The Michigan Panthers have pretty much pulled away as the second seed in the UFL at this point. They put up 35 points on the Showboats. It seems like everybody is having their best week against the Showboats. That's the Panthers' season high as far as points scored goes. They scored 34 points back in week 3 against our other team that's competing to be the worst in the league, the Houston Roughnecks. You got the Roughnecks, Renegades, and the Roughnecks, Renegades, and the Boats. Us. Duh. You've got us three just kind of circling the bottom, trying to see, I guess, who's going to be getting that first pick next year. Maybe who will have a little bit, maybe first dibs at a sweet free agent that can turn the team around. I don't know, man, but that's what we're looking like. The Michigan Panthers came to Memphis again. Another ugly Memphis game. It started to rain in the first quarter. Seemed like a lot of fans probably headed out after that. There weren't many fans there to begin with in the first place. I don't think we've cracked 10,000 in Memphis this year, besides maybe the opener. So just not looking good in Memphis as far as support goes. Going to be interesting to see how the end of this season plays out. We're seeing the USFL side. The fans aren't really showing up. The fans aren't really showing up to any game unless it's a DC Defender game in Audi Field, unless it's a St. Louis Battlehawk game at the Dome, or San Antonio would probably be right there after them with the most consistent. It seems like San Antonio gets at least 10,000 in the Alamo Dome over there. So we know we've got some. Arlington looks like they've just kind of mailed it in. Their fans showed up for week 1. Once they saw their team lose, it looks like they all checked out. Memphis, like I said, we're not showing up either. It's a big old stadium. I think we're sitting directly in the sun this year because they're doing the renovations to the other side of the stadium. So I know it's tough, and I know they give us some ugly early kickoffs. I know we got a couple 11 a.m. kickoff games, a couple 12, 1, 2. There's only one night game this year, and it's the last game of the season. But I mean, if that one if you guys show up, if everyone shows up to that last game, that 6 p.m. kickoff, I think it is, week 10 against the Roughnecks in Memphis, maybe if the fans show up to that game, it'll show the league like, hey, we need to schedule Memphis more home games, either later at night, late afternoon, something like that. But they're not going to schedule any home games if no one's showing up. So, I mean, obviously, I think Memphis is secure. We've got Big Daddy Fred Smith with FedEx that's kind of backing the Memphis Showboats, kind of like a owner in waiting, if you will, trying to see if the league will last. He was apparently a big part of bringing the Showboats to Memphis a couple seasons ago in the USFL. So I believe Memphis is good. I believe if you've heard me talk on I think last week or maybe on my betting show or something, I said that the league has the runway to operate for another season, just as they are this year. You know, with all the teams in their markets, maybe give them a better offseason plan to get more folks out to the games. But after next year, whoever didn't show up, whoever's fans didn't show up, I feel like those teams are at a real risk of seeing their team either get relocated or just folded altogether. So if you love your team, if you like spring football, if you like going to see games where you can actually talk to players after the game, where you can actually interact with some coaches, where you can actually go on the field, like there's a lot of fun stuff in this league that you can do. That's like the tickets are cheap. They do a lot of stuff for the kids. It's a great family atmosphere. Get out to the game, man. Tell your friend to tell their friend to get out to the game. All right, we got a grassroots market this thing. We gotta get some people out here, man. Get some people out here. So like I said, another ugly game in Memphis. Uh Showboats and the Panthers. Like I said, Panthers gave us a thorough whooping. I don't think there was really a part in that game where it felt like the Showboats were ever in control, where it felt like the Showboats had momentum on their side. You know, we had a couple scores in the second and the third quarter, but that was it. And then when we did score in the second quarter, Michigan had also already scored. When we scored in the third quarter, guess what? Michigan scored as well. Again, where we seem to get beat every week is in the second half and the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, we were outscored 10-0. So that's always fun to see there. Pretty much, man, the same. Let me pull this up for you guys real quick. Yeah, you can follow along with me. Little box score here, man. Michigan held the ball longer. Obviously, going to help you win games. We had one more drive, but having more drives doesn't matter if you're not going to score on them. We ran less plays, less yards. Yes, less yards per play. 2 for 3 in the red zone. That's good. That's a positive. Our red zone efficiency hasn't been the greatest. So, I mean, at least this week we showed that we can score when we get into the red zone. Passing, mediocre day. We got over 200 yards. So, that's cool. 3 touchdowns for Troy Williams this week. It was kind of cool to see him get in there and get some film, but it doesn't matter what quarterback's behind this offensive line because it just doesn't matter. Sorry for all that. Sorry for all that wing wang wong. Just keeping you on your toes, making sure you're still here to listen to me be sad. But another trend with Memphis not getting 100 rushing yards, man. Another week where we're averaging less than 4 yards per rush. The big killer right here, 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 picks. Pretty much sealed the game for that one, man. Like I said, you can see right here, 10-0 in the fourth quarter. Tis what it is, man. What are you going to do? We didn't stop the run. We couldn't stop the pass. We couldn't keep Troy Williams standing upright. We couldn't open up holes for the running game. What are you going to do? Dawood Davis still jumping off the screen as a NFL level talent. It would be amazing could you imagine if he was on like a good team? Could you imagine if Dawood had the opportunity to play with like AJ McCarron and that offensive line that holds AJ McCarron up, or maybe the Brahmas and their offensive line they had one quarterback go down, but that really wasn't their fault. It didn't seem to happen on like a play where he got sacked or something. It was his wrist. So there's a couple good offensive lines out there with some decent quarterbacks that could make Dawood Davis probably a top receiver in this league, top player in this league. He's got all the explosiveness that you want. We just can't get them the ball because our quarterbacks cannot stand in the pocket for more than 3 seconds. So I'm going to move on to some fun stats here before we talk about the game coming up this week against the Birmingham Stallions. This will be a home game for us, so show up if you like the Stallions. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, if you want to see, if you're a fan of the Birmingham Stallions and you live in Memphis, get out there because the boys are going to put on a show in front of our crowd, and it's not going to be the team with show in their name doing it. So, moving on. Here we go. Fun stats. You guys ready? All right, here we go. We've been outscored in the fourth quarter. I know. I love this one. This is my favorite stat. A total of 63-8. Okay? 63 points. That's for the other team. The other team is scoring 63 points in the fourth quarter against us. That's over 5 games. Quick math. That's 12 points in the fourth quarter a game. Unanswered. Every game. Like, well, if you divide our 8 between 5 games, we'll put up a point. So 12 points to 1 point. We're getting outscored on average in the fourth quarter. Okay. Does it get better if we do it by like the second half stat? No. By second half, we are getting outscored. What is it? It's 28, 48, about 60 something to 23. I think it's like 70 to 23. We're being outscored in the second half. Going back to the fourth quarter, we have not scored in the fourth quarter in the past 2 weeks. We didn't score in the fourth quarter against Michigan this week, and we didn't score in the fourth quarter against the Battlehawks last week. We wouldn't have scored against the Stallions in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago, but we got lucky with a safety, and that was our 2 points there. So that was cool. We would be 3 games straight with no fourth quarter points. I don't understand, dude. I don't understand. This Michigan game was the first game where it seemed like we didn't have an opening script or if we did, it didn't work. Our opening script didn't work. Every other game this season, at least for the first quarter, second quarter, the first drive, second drive, Memphis Showboats will march right down that field. Their opening plays are immaculate. The guys are open, plays are working, things are happening. And then after those first 2 drives, it all goes away. I don't know if Flip doesn't make any new adjustments. The offense just keeps doing what it's. I don't know, man. I wish I knew what was going on. It's absolutely frustrating as can be to see, because you can see it. That's the frustrating part. You can see, wow, this team has the potential to just go down the field and score on anybody. What's happening? What's happening that they're not doing that? I don't know. The run game, of course, we've only ran over 100 yards once this year. That was back in week 2 against the Brahmas. The run game just is non-existent. We put our running quarterback back there, Troy Williams. Even he can't run. I mean, you're not going to win games if you can't run the ball. And then we abandon the run early now because it feels like we're in, we're starting to get into that panic mode. 4 straight losses, haven't won since the opener. Our first couple of plays seem to work. Our first couple of drives work. And then we get behind and it's time to just air it out. But we can't air it out. Our offensive line is terrible. They can't stop a nosebleed, bro. Like, golly. Ugh. 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 One more fun stat before we talk about Birmingham, guys. One more. We have had 7 games this season where one team has scored 30 points or more. Okay, pretty cool. I think the Battlehawks account for like 4 of those. 4 of those 7. I know the Stallions have 1 or 2, and then the Panthers have 1. So I think that might be the 7 right there. But fun fact about this one is 3 out of those 7 games, the Showboats are on the other side of it. So, and it's been these past 3 weeks. We've been outscored 30, 30, 30. Teams are just putting up 30 burgers on us like it's nothing, dude. The past 3 games, we have had exactly 100 points scored against us, dude. In just 3 weeks. 3 weeks, we've had 100 points scored against us. I don't know. I'm trying not to put too much on the defense because I do believe in the defense. I think our defense is solid. It showed that it was solid early in the season. And I just think they're out there for too long. They get out there for too long. They see how the game's going. Once they get to the third quarter, they know how this story goes because it's been going this way the past 4 weeks. It's the same story every week. Sure, Showboats might have a little bit of a competitive game around the second, third quarter, but by the end of the third, start of the fourth, the game's over. So, these guys are playing for film, obviously. They're playing for pride and all that, but at some point, man, human nature is going to take over. And you're like, what am I doing out here? Why am I out here going 100 miles an hour to to help this team that's not helping me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would think it. I know other players probably thinking it, but they're still out there. They're still hustling. Are they giving 100% like they would if we were on a 4-1 win streak? Probably not. But they're out there. They're doing their thing. This week, this week's a fun week, as we know. Feels like this just happened, but we've got them again, folks. We've got them again. It's our favorite team, the team that looked the most dominant this year, the team that's undefeated this year, the two-time champions, the Birmingham Stallions. Now, I predicted back before the season started that we would lose the first game against the Stallions in Birmingham. It just felt like an obvious thing. Maybe we'd split the series. Memphis would have a decent crowd, maybe a little bit of a home field advantage. But it turns out we don't have a home field advantage. No one's showing up to games. So 11 a.m. local kickoff again. Absolutely disgusting. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. Like I said, I know the league isn't doing Memphis any favors with these ugly kickoff times, but we got to show up. At least buy the ticket. You know what I'm saying? Even if you ain't going to go, man, try to buy the ticket and just have it as a backup plan or something, bro, please. So, Birmingham Stallions coming up next. In case you didn't know, they lead the league in pretty much everything. Passing yards per game, they're second. Rushing yards per game, they're first. They're the best rushing team by far. It doesn't matter what running back they put behind that offensive line. They are moving bodies and opening up holes. We saw Larry Roundtree get involved this week because CJ Marable was out for personal reasons. So Ricky Person was still doing Ricky Person things. Larry Roundtree came in, had a long run, looked pretty good. A lot of people had him pegged as like maybe the running back 1 or 2. But Skip Holtz is pretty loyal to his guys, and his guys seem to play first and take precedence over new guys that are coming in, a la a Larry Roundtree, who wasn't with the team last year, new guy. But Larry came in and pretty much did exactly what he needed to do, stepped up for the injured or not injured, sorry, CJ Marable, who wasn't there. Uh, they've scored 8 rushing touchdowns. Like I said, they'll run on first down about 49 times. I mean, they'll keep attempting the run. They have 31 rushing attempts per game. So do with that what you will. We'll probably get. I don't know. I don't know. Now, if we get Matt Corral this week, which is kind of the Skip Holtz quarterback carousel thing. Last week we saw Martinez just play this past weekend. The week before that we saw Matt Corral play. The week before that we saw Adrian Martinez play. So if we're sticking to the pattern, this should be a Matt Corral game. But if I was Skip Holtz, I would have this as an Adrian Martinez game. I do not care. I would be riding the hot hand with Martinez. I've been saying it since Martinez had his first game where he put up over 300 yards, bunch of touchdowns, absolutely came out on fire. I don't know how Skip Holtz saw that performance and went back to Matt Corral, but he's smarter than I am. He's 5-0. We're not. So you can't question it too much. But I would be getting prepared for an Adrian Martinez and then sort of getting prepared for Matt Corral. If you can get prepared for Martinez, you can be prepared for Corral, I think. Martinez has elite speed, dude. He's hit 20 miles an hour in the UFL this season. That's more than running backs, receivers. I think he's like top 4 when it comes to like of all the players that have hit like over 19 miles an hour this season so far. So Adrian's got elite speed. You're going to have elite speed to catch him on defense. So you're going to have to probably bring a guy out of coverage to kind of watch Martinez. So Martinez just creates so much problems for your defense. I don't know why you wouldn't go with him. But if they go with him, we're in trouble. If they go with Corral, we're still in trouble, but maybe it won't be as terrible of a game. Maybe it won't be a blowout. Talk about the Stallions defense. Their bread and butter, right? Like how their defense is so good, dude. Their offense is good, and then their defense is better. Their defense is better, bro. Like, oh my lord. Some defensive stats for the Stallions. Points allowed, 63 points. That's first in the league by a good margin. The next best points allowed is the Brahmas at 81. Okay, so we went. Stallions are allowing 63 points a game. The Brahmas, who have a very good defense, are allowing 81 points. Oh, I'm sorry. That's over the season. I'm so sorry, guys. What a dummy. The Stallions have allowed 63 total points this year. The Brahmas have allowed 18 total points this year. There we go. But still, when it goes to the averages, the Stallions are giving up 12 points a game. The Brahmas are giving up 16 points a game. So still a 4-point difference, a pretty solid difference there. Yards per game, guess what? Oh, look at that. Birmingham Stallions are actually second in yards per game at 240. When it comes to passing yards, they're about middle of the field, so you can pass on them, but you're not going to run on this team. They are the best rushing defense in the league, again, by a wide margin. They've allowed a total of 253 rushing yards this season. The next closest team is the Michigan Panthers, who have allowed 357 yards. So a full 100 yards of difference when it comes to the Stallions and the next best team, the Panthers, when it comes to defending the run. Allowing 50 yards a game for rushing, that's probably what the boats will be at, because I don't know what we're going to do in this next 3 days that's going to magically make our run game appear, but maybe it does. Crazier things have happened, I guess. Sacks, guess what? 18 of them. Only one ahead of the Brahmas, so, not far and away better than everybody, but still pretty much better than everybody. Interceptions, they're second. They've got 5 interceptions. They've got 5 forced fumbles. I mean, I don't know what else you can say about the Birmingham Stallions. They're very good. They're very, very good. So let's play out this scenario real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Let's say Birmingham Stallions, they win. All right, cool. So now we're sitting at 1-5. We go to Arlington. Arlington should be 0-6 at this point. They are facing, I forget who, but I think the Brahmas, and I believe the Brahmas no, they're not facing the Brahmas. Panthers? Panthers. I think they're facing the Panthers. Panthers at Renegades, or Panthers versus Renegades. If the Renegades can beat the Panthers, that'd be good for us, but I don't see it happening. So I believe the Renegades would be 0-6 at this point. We would be coming in at 1-5. If we win this one, boom, we're at 2-5. Beat the Panthers, who just mollywopped us, we'd be at 3-5. Beat the Defenders, who are definitely not last year's Defenders, and we get them at home. Definitely a winnable game here. I would have never caught myself saying that at the beginning of the season, but here we are. We could win this game and be 4-5. And then we've got the Roughnecks, and we could end the season 5-5, I believe, realistically. Okay, that's with everything going right. That's with us finding a run game. That's with us finding some brand new offensive line. That's a lot of things have to go right for us to get to 5-5. Just 5-5. That's it. Boats fans, all the way back to my OG Tampa Bay Bandits fans, if you guys have followed along this whole time, it's hard out here, man. This is going on our 3rd season here. We're going to have another 500 or below team. We're going to finish without a playoff berth. It is what it is, man. We're going to root for these guys. I hope the whole team gets all the NFL opportunities they can. Hope the boys go out there and at least make it competitive these last few weeks for us. So we got something good to watch on TV. But I'm gonna try to do this next week, guys. I'm gonna try. I might miss a couple weeks here and there, and I might not pop up till week 10, and it's the end of the season. But wanted to get on here, give you guys a quick update, talk about it. So with that being said, and go boats. Toot toot.